Super Mario Bros. Is widely considered to be the mother of all bad video game movies, but in this cinematic court, it's innocent until proven guilty. Court is now in session for a plumberific episode of Innocent Until Proven Guilty. After tackling two notorious gaming adaptations, IUPG Movie Month is continuing strong by traveling back to the roots of the genre with the trial of the live-action Super Mario Bros. Film. Of all the possible candidates on my checklist of celluloid catastrophes, this is the one that got the most requests in the comments, and understandably so. This Nintendo tie-in has ascended into a legendarily infamous status usually reserved for the worst of the worst, but I actually remember enjoying this during its turbulent theatrical lifespan. Is my memory rosier than the reality of this massive flop? There's only one way to find out. Roll the footage! Super Mario Bros., the dreaded Hollywood Pictures presentation, was released on May 28, 1993. It was directed by the husband and wife team of Rocky Morton and Annabelle Jankel from a script co-written by Parker Bennett, Terry Runte, and Ed Solomon, and the intro credit sequence is accompanied by a rendition of the nostalgic World 1 Stage 1 theme. This familiar tune starts the production on the right note, but the events that followed didn't quite match with the desired demographics' expectations. Just how far off base were they from its NES origins? Well... Fans of stomping on turtles in the Mushroom Kingdom are immediately in for a rude awakening as the narrative prologue ditches the established lore in favor of a trip back to the Cretaceous period to witness the extinction of the dinosaurs.
You know, it just don't get no better than this. Yeah.
I don't recall my own reaction to this scene, but I can just imagine my peers being befuddled, wondering what the hell this has to do with the two Italian plumbers. The confusion deepens as the setting shifts to the modern era as an egg containing a human baby is abandoned by its mother at a church, but our heroes are fortunately introduced in the subsequent time skip. The beloved Nintendo icons are portrayed as down-on-their-luck entrepreneurs trying to make ends meet, and they're played by Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo. The British Hoskins may not have been the natural choice for the mustache mascot, but his sheer talent allowed him to blend in seamlessly like an acting chameleon. Leguizamo, on the other hand, was a relative newcomer at the time, so he fittingly fills in for the inexperienced and irresponsible Luigi. Hoskins' protective guardian figure dynamic with baby brother Leguizamo is great. You really feel that they genuinely care for each other, and it's always fun to see them interact. Upon failing to secure a gig thanks to Luigi's lazy loafing, the duo meets an archaeologist named Daisy who turns out to be the orphan child from the beginning of the film, and the plot fully kicks into gear when she's kidnapped at the dig site and transported to another dimension by Spike and Iggy. Wait a minute, Spike and Iggy? Something's not quite adding up here. The plumbers follow through the dimensional rift in order to rescue Luigi's love interest, and they're greeted by the alien site of Dino Hatton, home to the surviving dinosaurs, the aforementioned numbskulls, and the rest of their evolved descendants. Dino Hatton may be a far cry from the colorful and vibrant Mushroom Kingdom, but I really dig the dark and gritty design, and I especially appreciated the post-apocalyptic vibe it provided. To put it bluntly, Dino Hatton is a rundown dump, and the malevolent overlord sent out his cousins to rectify that by capturing Daisy. Koopa's big plan is to retrieve the princess's meteorite fragment necklace, which he affectionately calls the Rock, and combine it with the crater so that the realms merge into a unified whole. It's a scheme that hammy Shao Kahn from Mortal Kombat Annihilation would approve of, but it works for this type of sci-fi adventure. The dictator's inspired ambition hits a few snags along the way as the idiot Iggy and stupid Spike consecutively nab the wrong target, and the necklace winds up in the possession of Big Bertha. And the hits just keep on coming. Next you're gonna tell me that the Goombas are giants with tiny heads. Oh, come on! The protagonists ultimately set out to recover the fragment so that they can trade it for Daisy's freedom, but the road to get there is long and hazardous. They're accosted, arrested, and sentenced to a de-evolution chamber punishment, but they escape by the seat of their pants, commandeer a cop car, and crash land in the desert. Spike and Iggy locate and form an alliance with the stranded fugitives, who are temporarily successful in reclaiming the rock thanks to Mario's seductive charm over Big Bertha, and they jet out of the joint on rocket boots to avoid being hauled to the slammer by the fuzz. It may clash with the bright and cheerful tone of the 8 and 16-bit carts, but could you imagine how freaking awesome this would be in a hypothetical Super Mario Bros. The movie, the game? To paraphrase an old friend of the channel, that's an idea that had gnarly potential, so it's a shame that it never happened. Speaking of things that aren't totally rad, Daisy's situation is no less severe than her rescuers. She's attacked by Lena, the tyrant's right-hand woman, sexually harassed by the evil fiend himself, and her father, the former king, has been de-evolved into fungus. Talk about the crap cherry on a sewage sundae. The princess is mired in a Shawshank-level hell, and the only light in the midst of this deeply dark tunnel is the presence of Yoshi and Toad, or at least what passes for Yoshi and Toad in this freaky film. The appearance of the no longer cuddly but still kind of cute Yoshi makes sense contextually, but Toad is completely WTF worthy. How the little guy from the games became a Goomba devolved from a protesting folk singer is beyond me, but he sure can play a mean harmonica. In spite of the liberties taken with the source material making me question the sobriety of the writers, the story is pretty straightforward and wraps up surprisingly neatly. For the most part. I can't wrap my head around Spike and Iggy's metamorphosis from subservient brain-dead dolts to intellectual revolutionaries after being zapped by their cousin's machine. There's absolutely no setup for their switch of allegiance, and they act as if they've always been aligned with Daisy's father.
Princess Daisy, we've always been your loyalist supporters. We've been with your father since his demise.
My father? What do you know about my father?
Come with us.
Was this just a lie in order to save their asses? Or were they only obeying the vile villain until they reached the right moment to overthrow him? Perhaps it's the third option. That I'm reading far too deep into this dopey movie and I should move on. Yeah, that's probably the correct answer. Anyway, let's get back to the plot. The pair of plumbers sneak into Koopa HQ and run into the princess, who escaped her confinement with an assist from Yoshi. The group gathers the remaining prisoners, including Mario's girlfriend, and make their exit via one of the most unique chase sequences in the history of motion pictures. The chase concludes as the opposing forces square off in the streets of Dino Hatton, while Vera activates the rock behind her boss's back and pays the price for her betrayal. The worlds begin to unite with slightly comical results, but Daisy and Luigi manage to remove the piece and revert the unification process. Koopa the venomous slime ball is turned into a literal ball of slime due to the brothers' twin super scopes, portable evolution gun assault, and the residents of the alternate dimension are allowed to live in peace under their rightful ruler, the one and only Lance Henriksen.
I'm back. Love those plumbers.
The princess opens a portal for the triumphant Brooklyn boys to return home, but the happy mood is soured when Luigi learns that Daisy's decided to stay and help lead her people. The couple bids farewell for the foreseeable future, which turns out to be only a few weeks, as they're reunited in the film's cliffhanger climax that will never be resolved because, well, you know the story. That's the Super Mario Bros. Movie in a nutshell. It disrespected the franchise's pixelated roots and single-handedly killed all further prospects for Nintendo live-action adaptations, but are these crimes enough to cast the Spies Defender to the depths of gaming hell? Let's find out in the breakdown! What more is there to be said about the Super Mario Bros. Film that hasn't already been stated in countless reviews, articles, and dissections? For starters, the plot is connected to the source material in the loosest possible means imaginable. It's almost as if the writers took a pre-existing script and shoehorned familiar character names in so that they could line their pockets with the hard-earned cash from Nintendo enthusiasts around the globe. That alone should be enough to condemn this box office bust, but the behind-the-scenes saga is apparently equally disastrous. Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo openly admitted to drinking heavily during the production to cope with the miserable experience that they consider to be the lowest points of their careers. In other words, Super Mario Bros. Is guilty as charged and it's overdue for an execution.
No, Koopa? Well, you just said you were wrong.
An evil, egg-sucking son of a snake. Did I lie?
The circumstances behind the shoot may have been less than ideal, and the writers definitely took a hefty dump on the source material, but I remain undeterred in my resolve that this is a good movie. Hoskins to me is the quintessential non-gaming Mario, and Leguizamo compliments him with a similarly stellar performance, but Dennis Hopper steals the show in every scene he appears. In regards to the Goombas, Yoshi, and Toad, these changes are certainly at odds with the games, but I believe they perfectly fit the tone that Jankel and Morton were going for. In fact, I wholeheartedly approve, and I think they're still really cute. The Big Lugs are lovable and goofy, and I had a huge smile on my face whenever they popped up on screen. Super Mario Bros. To me is a fun romp of a film, and it absolutely does not deserve the hate. In the case of the Super Mario Bros. Movie, I rule that the verdict is innocent! I loved this tie-in as a kid, and I feel that it still holds up today, but I'll admit that it's not the ideal adaptation. They honestly should have ditched the live-action format in favor of a sillier animated approach, but that being said, I'll always defend and recommend this as a worthwhile watch, and it truly breaks my heart to know that Bob Hoskins held this in such contempt because he absolutely crushed it.
Mario, Scabelli's flooding the site.
We need your help.
Scabelli. Strap your belt on, kid. We're going in.
Anyway, now that I've acquitted this treasured film from my childhood, it's time to close out IUPG Movie Month by bringing one of my biggest fears to trial. If I was still a drinker, I'd be chugging Jack Daniels, because next week's culprit is none other than Dragon Ball Evolution. Be sure to come back for that and to pray for my sanity. But until then, court is now adjourned! Thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw and you want to see more, the boxes on the screen right now will lead to some more of my videos, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel by clicking on my avatar in the bottom right hand corner. Thanks again.